What is up, my dashing dudes and darling dames? I am the Hans TV, and welcome back to the only subreddit that lets you see just what you can do whenever somebody messes with you. It's r/ProRevenge. Our first post for today comes from the male Mary Poppins. Break my phone, you'll pay for the damage. Hello, wonderful people of Reddit. I have a lot of time to myself today. My friend/employer is taking the kids out for a walk, and I decided to post my own personal story of revenge here after my friend suggested it. She also insisted on helping with my username, so thanks for that. I was always the kid people picked on at school. The girls would spread rumors about me, and the boys would harass me nonstop. See, I'd always known that I wanted to be a nanny. I loved babysitting and looking after kids, so it seemed like a natural career choice for me. I made the mistake of telling this to a girl who I thought was my friend, and she proceeded to tell everyone at the school. As this was perceived as feminine, I instantly became the target for bullies. There was one boy who loved to terrorize me. I'll call him Jack for the sake of this story. Jack was awful. He would follow me home whilst throwing things at me, vandalize my schoolwork, call me disgusting names, steal my stuff, cut my hair in class, etc. I was terrified of him. It got to the point where I couldn't sleep from the fear of having to deal with him at school the next day. I blame him and his friends for the anxiety I had, and still somewhat have to this day. I reached breaking point not long after Christmas when I was 15. My family never had a lot of money, but we got by. My mom had saved for ages in order to buy me my first phone. No, it wasn't the newest model, but I didn't care. I was so grateful to have my first phone, and a little guilty that my mom had gone without her new Christmas outfit and had put off fixing her own phone to buy it for me. Once the schools went back after Christmas break, Jack found out about my phone. He took it from me and proceeded to read through my messages, making fun of me for the lack of contacts and telling my mom I loved her. He then threw it to the floor and stomped on it in front of his friends. I was furious, upset, and devastated. This dickhead had destroyed something that my mom had worked so hard to buy for me. So I started planning my revenge. I knew through the grapevine that Jack's mom was a stay-at-home mom. His dad had a well-paid job, and his mother was quite happy to stay at home with the kids, 4-year-old twin girls. I also knew, however, that she didn't get to go out much, as Jack would flat out refuse to babysit, and she was pretty picky when it came to who was allowed to look after her kids. I used to babysit her friend's little boy, and was pretty good at it, if I do say so myself. However, for my plan to work, I had to babysit Jack's siblings. I made a few comments here and there to their little boy's mom about wanting to get a few more babysitting jobs so I could save up some money for my mom's upcoming birthday. As luck would have it, the lady recommended me to Jack's mom, since it'd been so long since she'd been able to go out with the girls. For the next few weeks, I'd go to Jack's house with the other little boy I was babysitting and look after his little sisters. Despite Jack's awful attitude, his family were all pretty nice. His little sisters were an absolute joy to look after. Jack wasn't usually in the house, but when he was, I could see that it killed him to be civil to me. His mom would have flipped out if he'd been horrible to me in front of her or his little sisters. They'd have quickly ratted him out. Once I decided enough time had passed, I put my plan into action. You see, Jack was one of those creepy kids that liked to brag about his adult magazine stash in his bedroom. This made him cool to his friends. I never understood why though. Anyway, every time I'd babysit and put the little ones to bed, I'd sneak into his room and search around. I know this is a massive invasion of privacy, but I was a stupid 15-year-old kid and I couldn't take this bullying anymore. I eventually found his stash and made a mental note that they were in a bag in his closet. I'd been observant those few weeks, so I knew that Jack's mom and dad had an unopened bottle of vodka in the fridge. They didn't drink a lot, and it was only for when they were going to parties. One night, once the little ones were asleep and Jack was out with his friends, I went to the fridge, opened the bottle of alcohol, and tipped about a quarter of it down the sink. His parents could afford to buy a new one, by the way. If they couldn't, I'd never have done it. And snuck up to Jack's bedroom and hid the bottle in the same bag as his stash. His parents found out about it not too long later, and after Jack accused me of taking it, they showed up at my door. They weren't angry because they still didn't know who had taken it, so they asked me some questions. I denied everything but was polite and even offered to help them look for it in case it had been misplaced. They thanked me but told me that it was fine, they'd find it. And oh boy did they find it. I was called over the next day to take the little ones to the park for an hour or so, in order for them to have a talk with Jack. They didn't like arguing in front of the twins, it frightened them. When I got back, Jack was in his bedroom. If the noises were anything to go by, he was crying. It turns out that he'd ratted himself out. His parents found the bottle of alcohol in his room along with his adult magazines. His mother hated anything like that, as she found it to be degrading to women. She humiliated him by gossiping to the neighbors about his unhealthy obsession with passionate hugging. He'd denied everything and accused me of planting the alcohol there. When asked why I'd do that, he ratted himself out by saying that it was payback for him breaking my phone. His parents flipped out. They'd had no idea their son was such a bully. They took away his phone, grounded him, and made him sell his games console to pay to get my phone fixed. I had been saving up the money myself for a few weeks. His face when they made him hand me the money will stay with me forever. His parents questioned me about the bullying, eventually informing my mom as well. I'd hidden it from her and told her I dropped my phone. He got into a lot of crap at school after a few other kids came forward about the bullying they'd endured at the hands of Jack and his friends. A few of them, including Jack, got suspended. Jack's parents even made him go to the door to apologize to the people he tormented. I was reluctant to take the money at first, as it was way over the amount it would cost to get my phone fixed, so his parents compromised and told me to take enough to at least cover the repair cost. Needless to say, with the phone repair covered, I managed to get my mom an awesome birthday gift. I know this is really long and really badly written. I'm not a writer, so please forgive me for any errors. OP, this story was absolutely magnificent. Thank you for posting. Not only did you get him in trouble for everything he's ever done, you got him grounded and he had to sell his games to freaking pay for your phone repair. That, my friend, is ProRevenge. Our next post comes from Vicoding. I sued my boss because he fired me for wanting to attend a concert. Good afternoon, everybody that stumbled upon this post. First up, some backstory. During my gap year between studies, I decided to work for Company Inn. Company Inn was run by a husband, Dave, and wife Karen with their son, and basically treated their staff like a small family. All was well for about 2 months, until I realized I had to ask off for a day off since I wanted to attend the last Slayer concert the band would give in my country. There was about a month to go, so I sent an email asking for the day off and explaining why. This is where everything started to go downhill. I got a reply from the Karen, and her reply was weird. She stated that that's not how asking for a day off works. I was confused to say the least. Not sure what to do, I thought she wanted a more formal way of asking, so I wrote a formal email asking for the day off. She shot an email back, and I really had to think it through what I was doing, which made even less sense to me, but I was hopeful since I never really got a specific no. The next workday rolls around. I arrived, locked up my bike, and headed inside ready for work. I immediately started looking for Dave to ask for answers. Before I could even open my mouth, he asked me, "Do you still want to go to that concert?" I didn't expect him to ask this so quickly and answered yes. The only thing he said back was, "Okay, take off your vest and you can go home." I was stunned, and while the words started to stink in, I looked at my colleagues, which were just preparing for opening. When it finally sank in, anger flowed. I am not a confrontational person, so I simply took off my vest and gave it to Dave. Without a word, I left and started biking home. When I got back home, I told my mother what happened. We started sending emails for extra information and got very Karen-like emails back. After a couple emails which went basically nowhere, I looked up the laws for immediate dismissal. After reading up about it, I learned that, in my country, someone can only be immediately fired when caught stealing, frauding, the person isn't able to do the work or refusal to do the work. I did none of these. A day or two later, I met with my attorney and began the steps to sue Company Inn. I told my lawyer what happened in detail, and he was very confident I was in my right and she was not. So, after trading even more emails between the three of us, we went to small claims. I came prepared, in a suit with my attorney in tow, and Karen showed up, alone. I guess she assumed she won because she thought she was in her right. The trial began and I was as professional and objective as I could be. Karen did the same. Well, for about half of the trial. When she realized evidence was piling up against her, she resorted to calling me a spoiled brat, among other things. I don't know the English translation for. I'm safe to say that was the point the judge ruled in my favor. As per usual, I had to wait a month before I got the verdict in the mail. But I won. It may have taken 6 months from the moment I was told to go home to the point those 6 months of pay were transferred to my bank account, but it was 100% worth it. In the end, I went to the concert. It was the most awesome and most profitable concert I have ever been to in my life. Our final post for today comes from Metro CPS. How I got revenge on my realtor after I was tricked into a 1-year buyer/agency contract, who had no intention of helping us buy a home. My husband and I met with a top realtor that a very popular agency had to offer. We saved for 2 years and we were ready for a home. He was confident, encouraging, and made us feel like he could get us into our dream home. We reviewed financials with him and he saw we each had tier 1 credit. Both scores were over 800. Plus, we had enough saved for a conventional loan. He was clearly so happy because he could smell that commission check. He brought out the contract. We discussed the buyer agency contract, which didn't seem like a big deal because we were very serious about buying. We also knew most realtors did this, so it wasn't alarming. In case you don't know, this contract is standardly a 3-month contract stating that you will not buy, rent, or lease any property without the realtor getting their fair commission. And if you go behind their back with someone else, they will be entitled to a percentage of whatever property you purchase. The clause he failed to mention / we missed, this was a 1-year contract. We weren't worried at first because, again, we were sure to be buying a property. Let me tell you, when we told him the price range we were looking for, about $150,000 under what the bank approved us for, he became completely upset and defensive. Why are you dropping your standards? Don't you have any dying relatives who could co-sign so you can get the house paid off quicker? I don't want to show you houses in that area, etc. He saw that large commission check vanish before his eyes. We continued to stay in touch because what option did we have? We were contractually committed to buying a home through him and only him for the next year. We sent him links to many houses, asking when we can see them. He would take a week or two to respond back, and when my dream home slipped through my fingers due to his delays, I had enough. I politely asked if he would relinquish us from the contract as we clearly had different goals. I apologized for being upset, but I told him why. I said I didn't feel like he was making us a priority and I would rather hire someone private. His response? Well, I'll be running your financials for the next year to see if you buy, lease, or rent anything. I'd reread that contract you signed and find a lawyer. Then he cut communication. I complained to the agency and they said, try and work it out with the realtor himself. When I told them I already tried, they brought up the contract. I said I was going to speak to a lawyer about the contract and they laughed and said good luck. The lawyer informed me it could drain our account going against the agency and we made the painful decision to wait him out the full year, saving a lot more money in the meantime. The contract ends and we find our perfect first home, above the original price we were approved for, and with the most amazing realtors we have ever met. During closing day at the realtor's office, the sellers of our home used the popular agency we just escaped from. Our previous realtor watched in the hallway as we signed for a house almost $150,000 more than we would have bought from him, exactly 1 month after our contract was up. He scrambled to find the now expired contract because he was sure that he was about to win. I know a lot of people at the office were talking about it, and our realtors let us know what had happened after we left. It made me feel good to watch the horror on his face through the conference room windows as his superior told him to go home due to his frantic behavior. Apparently, he had been using company time and expenses to check on our financials weekly throughout the year in order to catch an easy check through a broken contract. There was no confrontation between us directly, but I definitely feel like we won that one. I looked on their company website and his name has been removed from their listed agents. So, on the one hand, you did sign a contract without reading the byline that probably said this is a year-long contract, but on the other hand, you screwed him out of a humongous commission and got him fired. So, I'd say that's a win for you. Well, alright my dashing dudes and darling dames, that is going to do it for today's episode of r/ProRevenge. I hope you liked the stories, and if you did, I'm going to link them in the description as always. And if you liked the video, subscribe, share, drop a like, and a comment down below what you'd like to see me read next. A humongous thank you to everyone who continues subscribing to the channel. I cannot thank y'all enough for how y'all are making the community grow, and I cannot wait to be the leader of this community and lead us to success. But with that being said, I will see you in the next video.